Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are tackling a topic that is, well, it's part epic fantasy, part cosmic horror, and honestly, the ultimate mythological soap opera. We're diving into the chaotic, sprawling, and intensely dramatic family tree of Zeus. If you think your family gatherings are complicated, oh man, just wait until you see the tangled web of the Greek pantheon's supreme deity. We're going to look at exactly who fathered who, how these legendary figures came to be, and why this incredibly complex lineage is so absolutely crucial to understanding ancient Greek mythology. To map out this colossal pantheon without getting totally lost, we're going to follow 5 clear categories: the origins of the king, his first divine partners, Hera and the royal family, his many mortal affairs and disguises, and finally, his famous heroic offspring. All right, let's jump right into section 1, Origins of the King, a legacy of paranoia.
You see, Zeus wasn't exactly handed the keys to the cosmos. He inherited some profound generational trauma. His grandfather, Uranus, the literal sky, was violently overthrown by his son, Cronus. Cronus then takes the throne, but he lives in absolute sheer terror because a prophecy warned him that he too would be overthrown by his own child. So his solution? I mean, it's brutal. As soon as his wife Rhea gave birth, Cronus swallowed the babies whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, all swallowed. So this intense fear of being displaced, that shaped Zeus's entire existence before he even took his first breath. To break this terrible cycle, Zeus's mother, Rhea, took some absolutely desperate, bizarre measures. When she was pregnant with her 6th child, Zeus, she just couldn't bear to lose another one. So she actually hands Cronus a literal rock wrapped in a baby blanket, which he swallows without a second thought. Crazy, right? Meanwhile, the real baby Zeus is hidden away in a cave in Crete. He's being nursed by a she-goat named Amalthea, and to make sure Kronos didn't hear the baby crying, a band of armed dancers called the Kuretes would stand outside the cave, just loudly beating their spears against their shields. Talk about a tense, precarious beginning for the future king of the gods.
Moving right along to section 2, the first divine partners, concepts, and cosmos.
In his early rule, history almost repeated itself step by step. Zeus takes his first wife, the Oceanid Metis. But then, a prophecy warns that after bearing a daughter, Metis will have a son who's going to overthrow Zeus. So what does Zeus do? Well, he takes a page right out of his dad's playbook, but with a twist. He actually swallows his pregnant wife whole. He doesn't just eliminate the threat, he literally internalizes her wisdom. And the result of this, that famous, totally absurd story of Zeus getting a massive headache, having his skull cleaved open, and his daughter Athena springing forth fully grown and armed for battle. By swallowing the mother, Zeus basically beat the system and ended the cycle of displacement. After Metis, his partnerships rapidly start establishing the actual architecture of society. He partners with the titan Themis, giving birth to the seasons, societal order, and the all-powerful fates, the Moirai. Then, with the Oceanid Eurynome, he fathers the Graces. So he isn't just having kids here, he is literally populating the cosmos with the very concepts of order, destiny, and beauty. 9. This simple number holds a pretty surprising fact from our sources. Zeus actually slept with the titan Mnemosyne for 9 consecutive nights. The result of that massive 9-night union? The birth of the 9 muses, the goddesses of literature, science, and the arts. Following all that, his relationships established some of the most crucial foundational gods of the Olympian pantheon. With his sister Demeter, he fathers Persephone, whose mythology gave the Greeks their changing seasons. And with the titan Leto, he fathers the spectacular divine twins, Apollo, the god of music and light, and Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. The big takeaway here is that these early unions were fundamentally about structuring the heavens. Let's look at section 3, Hera and the royal family, a turbulent union. Now, the story of how his most famous marriage began is, well, it's as manipulative as it is bizarre. Zeus spots Hera walking alone and decides, yep, I want to marry her. His strategy? He creates a terrifying, violent storm and transforms himself into a tiny, shivering cuckoo bird. When Hera, feeling pity, sits down and lets the trembling bird hide in her cloak to get warm, Zeus suddenly transforms back to his true, imposing form. It was a wildly dramatic trick that essentially cornered her into promising to marry him. The ancients strictly separated his offspring. Hera provided the legitimate, divine, royal family of Olympus. Together, they had Ares, the god of war, Hebe, the goddess of youth, Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, and Hephaestus, the smith god.
These children stayed up in the heavens, and this stands in stark contrast to the massive, sprawling array of earthbound demigod heroes, guys like Hercules and Perseus, born from his endless mortal escapades.
Which brings us to Section 4, Mortal Affairs and Disguises. The King Descends.
The sheer absurdity and variety of the transformations Zeus employed to bypass boundaries is just staggering. He approaches Leda as a swan. He lures Europa away by taking the form of this magnificent, gentle bull. He reaches Danae, who was literally locked in a bronze chamber, by miraculously slipping through the roof as a shower of gold. To sleep with Alcmene, he skips the animal kingdom entirely and just shapeshifts into her own husband, Amphitryon, who was returning from war. Oh, and he abducts Aegina as a flame, or an eagle, depending on the version. Basically, he broke every conceivable rule of nature to pursue his terrestrial affairs.
But you know, this wasn't a consequence-free soap opera. The collateral damage was devastating, and Hera's jealousy almost always targeted the mortal women rather than her omnipotent husband. Take his affair with the mortal princess Semele. A disguised Hera befriends her and plants a seed of doubt, convincing the pregnant girl to make Zeus promise to reveal his true divine form. Bound by a magical oath, Zeus has to comply, but mortal eyes just cannot behold a god in all his raw cosmic glory. Semele is instantly reduced to ashes. It's a really dark reminder of the deadly peril of drawing the eye of Olympus. All right, Section 5. The famous heroic offspring, the demigod legacy. Let's just briefly look at how these specific children went on to shape the absolute most foundational myths of Greek history. From the golden shower came Perseus, the hero who slayed Medusa. From the bull disguise came Minos, the legendary king of Crete who commissioned the labyrinth. From the swan disguise came Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships. And from an affair in a cave with the titan Maia, we get Hermes, the clever messenger of the gods. Zeus's DNA was quite literally woven into every major legendary event of the ancient Mediterranean. But with such a vast, incredibly sprawling lineage, you really have to ask, who was Zeus's very last mortal child? Like, where does the earthly family tree finally end? The answer is Heracles. Arguably the greatest of all Greek heroes, Heracles was born after Zeus disguised himself as Alcmene's husband. And because he was a living monument to Zeus's infidelity, Heracles was the ultimate target of Hera's wrath. I mean, she persecuted him relentlessly throughout his mortal life, from sending snakes to his crib when he was a baby to driving him into the madness that caused his famous 12 labors. But Heracles endured, ultimately achieving apotheosis, meaning he was actually transformed into a god upon his death. And this beautifully caps off our explainer today. According to the ancient historian Diodorus Siculus, the birth of Heracles marked an absolute endpoint. To quote him directly, following the birth of Heracles, he ceased to beget humans altogether and fathered no more children. So the great earthly lineage of the Sky Father basically culminated in the ultimate hero, and then the age of demigods effectively closed. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. Does Zeus's chaotic, often brutal, and deeply flawed family tree serve as a foundational map of Greek morality? Like, was it just a way to explain the seasons, the arts, and the cosmic order? Or is it simply a mirror reflecting the unpredictable, messy, and dramatic nature of humanity itself, just projected onto the stars? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the myths that made us.